Welcome to ICEF Monitor. I'm sitting here with Sue Blundell from English Australia. Sue, what's your role at English Australia and what is English Australia doing?
I'm the CEO of English Australia. I've been there for 12 years now, which I can't believe sometimes. It's a long time. And we're what's called in Australia the peak body for the English language sector. And I know a lot of countries don't use the term peak body, but I think it says what we are. We're the most important association that represents a sector of an industry. And so we're the body that the government comes to talk to about that sector if they want to learn what we have to say, what our views and perspectives are. In order to gain that desire from the government to talk to us, we have to have credibility. And so the other things we do to drive credibility are professional support for the industry, raising standards, making sure that the industry is grounded in quality. And then the second thing is gathering good data. Governments love good information and good data. And if we can demonstrate to them that we understand our industry, that we drive quality, and that we actually have the same goals as the government in terms of the reputation and brand of the industry, that's when a government will listen to us. And so we've focused over the last 20 plus years on driving our credibility through quality, professional support, and great data collection. As a result, I think the government listened to us.
I'm very happy you mentioned the data collection. How's the sector looking right now?
Well, we have great data in Australia. I think we're world leaders in gathering data and analysing it. And we have year-to-date information for this year that shows that we've got growth in the English language sector of over 20% at the moment, which after 4 years of decline, falling enrolments, is fantastic to see that we're bouncing back and on the road to recovery.
So I assume the feeling amongst your members, amongst your participants is quite good, or how would you describe the feeling at the moment?
Yeah, we're very careful about how we describe that. I think the term we use at the moment is cautious optimism because we've seen the industry go up and go down. And I think when you see the kind of return to growth that we've got at the moment, people have learned not to be too excited, that they look at that growth very carefully. They want to see where it's coming from and why, so that we can actually sustain that growth going forward. It's not just a flash in the pan that is going to change. So we analyse it very carefully. We look at, say, which markets it's coming from, what type of provider they're going to. One of the positive things about the growth is that it's spread very evenly across the sector. So we're seeing that growth in university language centres, but also in private language centres, standalone English as well as pathway English. 18 of our top 20 source markets are all showing growth. So that's the kind of analysis of the growth that we look to undertake to really make sure that it's good, positive, sustainable growth and not just, say, one market that's skewing the data and is actually may change very quickly. So.
How can you assure that's a lasting growth? What are you doing with English Australia to assure that?
I mean, sustainable growth is based on, I think, good quality underpinnings in the sector. I think a strong regulatory framework that actually supports that quality. As a good visa system that actually allows access to study from international students, but is not too open to actually cause problems, for example, where a government might step in later to turn off the tap. So I think part of it is getting a balance in international education between access for students and quality and rigour in the process of making sure the students who come into the country are genuine students. The times, I think, where we've had some problems in terms of student numbers have been where governments have intervened, where they think that they need to intervene and change regulation to we've been growing too fast, or the type of student we've been attracting is not the correct type of student that the country is looking for. So I think it's the responsibility of the industry to actually maintain those quality standards and support the government in those goals.
Traditionally, a lot of students were coming from Asia to Australia. Are there any new emerging markets right now?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because in some ways I think there's no such thing as a new emerging market. So, for example, yes, Asia has traditionally been very strong for us. Our top 3 markets have not changed in the last 20 years. China, Korea, Japan, 3 very big Asian markets for us. But our number 4 market is Brazil. Colombia is now our number 5 market. So, we've got 2 very strong markets in Latin America. Brazil has been a strong market for us for quite some time. Colombia used to be strong in the 1990s. When I was marketing in Latin America, Colombia was a huge market for Australia. And then things change, political environments change, the economic situation in countries change, and Colombia reduced in importance as a market for Australia. But the last couple of years we've seen incredibly strong growth. In fact, Colombia is now our number 3 source country for student visa holders. So Colombia is right up there with Brazil now in terms of numbers.
So are there any marketing campaigns you're doing specifically for certain regions in the world, let's say maybe Colombia or Brazil?
As a country, Austrade drives a lot of our promotional activities, but we also see a lot of activity by our tourism department, by Tourism Australia, to drive particular promotional campaigns. So there's always something happening somewhere in the world, whether it's a working holiday visa promotion in France, or it's the current digital campaign by Austrade that is a global campaign that's looking to drive students to win a year's study in Australia and all expenses paid, which is a really exciting campaign. So I think as a country, we try and do it as country national campaigns rather than individual sectors or individual institutions. And I think we're quite general in how we do that. We see the whole world as an opportunity rather than particular countries and particular markets.
That's a very good answer. Would you recommend this strategy to other associations, other bodies, maybe from other countries, to market a country as a whole?
I think it's one reason why, if you look at the last 20 years, Australia has been very successful in international education. Right, I think from the beginning, where we really moved seriously into international education, it was always country first. It was always promote Australia first. We're a long way away from a lot of our source markets. At the beginning, we're a relatively unknown destination. And so part of actually selling yourself as a new destination is about being single-minded. It's about being unified and being really consolidated in your approach. And you don't need everyone going off in different directions, sending different messages and confusing your audience and confusing the market. And I think we did that very well right from the beginning. It was always Brand Australia. And then after Brand Australia, it was the state, then it was the city, and then it was the institution. So we sort of cascaded down the marketing strategy, but always focusing on Australia first.
Australia has a new government. What does that signal for the industry? Are there any changes to be expected? How's the situation right now?
Well, a new government is obviously a window of opportunity, I suppose, in terms of the opportunity to shape the thinking of a government that's going to be in power for some period of time now. Just looking back over the period of the last government, it was a period of great change. We've seen 4 years of declining numbers. We've seen huge reforms from that government in international education, regulatory reform, visa reform. The end of that period, I think there was a lot of people in the industry talked about reform fatigue. Everyone was very tired of all the change. Agents were frustrated about the amount of change that was happening. And so in some ways there's a bit of a worry that a new government is going to be more change and we're going to see a period of instability. But I think if you look at the different philosophies that the two governments have towards the role of government, I look forward to the next year as being one of that we will see as being very positive for international education. And I'll tell you why. The last government, the Labor government, had a philosophy of government's role is to control and to intervene and to regulate and to I think control is the strongest word I can think of. The new government coming in is a Liberal government, and traditionally their philosophy of the role of government is to minimise the role of government. The role of government is actually to do as little as possible and to let business do business, to let people get on with their lives with as little intervention as possible. So I think what we can look forward to in the coming year is a year where this government will be examining how much they can actually pull back and let business do business. And I think it's an opportunity for us to see a decline in the kind of regulation that constrains an industry, that constrains innovation, that constrains opportunity. And so I think we will see a year where, and a period of years where actually businesses will be allowed to grow and expand and be innovative and do exciting things. So I'm very optimistic about the coming year, and I think it's an interesting time to be an educational operator in Australia.
Sure is. Thank you so much for coming, Sue, and we hope all the best for you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.